until you get the revelation yourself, it's tough.
You can't just make someone stop something.
No, you can't. True transformation through Christ. There's no other way. I had tried everything else.
At the end of the day, church is people.
Yep.
And it's people who are broken from all walks of life.
I think one of the key things is to be intentional, like be intentionally aware of what thoughts are going on in your head. If I could say, look, here's the Bible, just do this. It's like, here's Jesus, just do that. You wouldn't need a coach.
And I think it's the beauty of following Jesus is that the whole point of surrender is to give up control and actually look after yourself.
There are some things the only answer is God.
Here we are, Parable Essentials, and I am excited for this episode. Before we get started, first of all, we wanted to say thank you for being a part of the journey. We pray this has blessed you, equipped you, lifted your head a little bit higher. We're so grateful that you're a part of this community. It's just a great way to do the journey with us as we pioneer Parable. And if this has blessed you, do us a favor, like it, share it, subscribe to it. That would bless us if it has blessed you. And so I'm excited for today's episode on Parable Essentials. I have my good friend, Louise Smallwood.
Yay.
You are an incredible human being, but we've known Louise for many years now, and she is a leadership coach, not a life coach.
Got that.
Life coach is one of the things you do, but also an incredible individual, a part of our team at church. She's a mother. She's a wife. She's a business lady. She's what else do you do? Church volunteer.
Runner.
Yes, you just completed on a treadmill, by the way, a half marathon, which I think you might as well run, an ultra marathon, because a treadmill's different, because it's like, I feel like treadmill's like elite status. If you can stick on a treadmill for a half marathon.
Thanks, Pete.
I think it is, because I think a treadmill's so boring.
Yep.
I think that's a great place to start. How did you do that? You only did that a few days ago.
I tell you what. Yeah. I mean, I'd made a promise to, myself, but one of my clients, so one of my coaching clients, was running a half marathon on the weekend on the Gold Coast. And I said to her 2 weeks ago, okay, I'm going to do my 21 by then. And I'd been increasing, I've been increasing this year, my distance. But when I say I do something, like I am my word. So it was, how I relate to my word is really important. So it was like, I'm going to do it. So how did I do 21 on the treadmill? It was, I came home and said to John, do you know the stuff we do? It's so critical, because what I was thinking, having to arrest that and continue go, and you know this, you run marathons, having to not listen to that voice, not listen to the physical part of your body, there's a physicality involved, and just keep going because I said so.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
You're like the
key.
Female David Goggins of Sydney, Australia.
Wow, I don't know about that.
We've got our own David Goggins here, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't know about that.
She eats half marathons on treadmills for breakfast.
It's my first one. Come on, I mean, he's talking me up a bit here, but anyway.
You need to start to get someone filming you on a treadmill and do what David Goggins does. Like, you look at the camera and it's like, focus.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
I can do my coaching from the treadmill. Maybe that's a new thing.
Hey, I think you just touched on some great ideas there.
Yeah.
No, definitely. That's a great idea, and I think we should definitely unpack that. It's so great to have you today. We love you and John, your husband.
Thank
You're
you.
such an incredible blessing to not only our community, but to many people. And I know you help so many leaders and execs and CEOs. But what I do know about you two is that you just love helping people and seeing them thrive and seeing them move forward. And for the years that I've known you, you do that as part of your job, but you do that just in life in general. One thing I have loved about you both is it feels like you're involved in everything, everywhere in church life. I mean, you're either on the front row and you're leading with faith, or you are in our kids ministry serving our incredible parable kiddos, or sometimes you'll be on the car park and you're helping assist there, or you're on the front doors. Tell us, what is it that just makes you passionate about church?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I guess how we came to church is probably going to be part of that story, and we can talk about that in a minute. But I love it. It's fun. I mean, it's like, the joy of the Lord. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I went to this camp and, when they'd put over the speakers, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but it's what's coming up. They'd put over the speakers in the morning, rise and shine and give God the glory, glory. You know that old song? I don't know if you know it. But when I was a kid, there was this
Rise
song.
and shine.
Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory. That's my singing debut.
Wow.
Anyway.
Hey, Sony, lock her in.
That's right, leading worship. I did do that at one church. Anyway,
wow.
Karaoke style. So...
That's amazing.
I know, there's so much.
I did not know
there's
that.
So much. Anyway, but it was more like we really do. We love it because why wouldn't you? I mean, it's like it's the church. It's God's bride. Like I love it. I love church. And John, my husband, knows this. He does as well. It's just a pleasure and a joy. And so there's not a sense of I have to. I want to be part of it. And if there's a need, we're mindful of not putting our hands up for everything as well, because we don't want to be,
sure.
We want people to have opportunity. So it's not that. But there's some real need.
Yeah.
And it's like, I could put my constraints on it and go, well, we've never done kids before. Or I could go, well, let's put our hands up and see how it goes. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. There's need everywhere. So just being available for it. Yeah, so it's not hard work. I think that's the thing. It's a joy.
One of the things I have heard a lot is people come for the first time to church, and they are met with your smile on the front door, and it's actually what they leave with. And I'm not just saying this to kind of talk fluff. It's actually what I've heard some of the greatest feedback and praise reports is people who go, I ran into this lady Louise. Louise encouraged me with this. When I saw Louise, this, and I've heard it in so many different spaces. And I just think it's so cool to have people, a part of the church, who just genuinely, authentically care when people come, because we've kind of got this I wouldn't say it's a long walkway to the front door, but people are walking to the front door of our church. But I love that I've seen you on the front door, because I think you scream, welcome home, not that you literally scream it, but I think the way I watch you, how you interact with people and, just make people feel, because coming to church, any church, by the way, for the first time, it can be daunting. Mm-hmm. It's a faith step. I always thank folks in church, man, thanks for coming. I know it took faith. I know it took some courage to be here, because it's a big step. Like, can you talk a little bit about that? Like coming to a church for the first time, maybe you've got an experience, or what have you observed when people come to a new community for the first time? How can we make them feel at home? Yeah,
the funny thing is, being a smile and a welcoming face, I genuinely am excited to see people. And because I can't think of a better place to be.
Wow.
So it's, my husband and I, our journey, our lives completely transformed. And we were in such a different space before we came to know Christ. So it's like, it's genuine. I genuinely I like people too. I just like people.
I love it. You're like the golden retrievers of humans.
Yeah, oh gosh.
You're like my dog Alfie, by the way.
Except I don't just lie down on the couch doing nothing, right? So maybe an energetic one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm genuinely excited because
I love it.
I know how I feel. Like I especially at Parable, there's this essence to Parable, and that essence I hope we never lose.
Wow.
And it's up to us to ensure that it doesn't go, because as church grows, because it's a healthy church, people will come because they can see this essence. Numbers doesn't mean you have to lose that. You don't have to, but it does take an intentionality then. But the experience of coming to a new church absolutely can be daunting. You know, you can walk in and we've got all of our groups and we know each other and we're all
even not just a new church, but like an unchurched person who doesn't even know anything about Jesus coming, that's daunting.
Oh, it's
right?
daunting. I mean, you think about, I remember when we first started going to church. I mean, we grew up in church, John and I, in different scenarios, different parts of the world. But I always think, I remember someone saying this to me once, and I do say it sometimes, you know, this thing that we believe, this faith that we have, if you don't know about it, it's weird. It's like we believe that someone raised from the dead. Yeah. You know, we believe in a Holy Spirit. We believe so it's tough to get your head around it. And then the other part of it, this is not every church, but certainly our church and some beautiful churches we've been part of, people are pretty joyful. That's confronting.
Happy clappers.
Yeah, but it's not happy clappy because it's genuine. Yeah. So you can walk into the environment. Actually, there's two parts because we've been to both sorts of churches. So, you know, one sort of environment where there's this welcoming atmosphere where people are genuinely happy. That can be a lot. But then the flip side can be when you walk into a church and there's this, I don't know, it's like a heaviness and it's not necessarily warm. You can get all of it. So you know, that feeling of not belonging somewhere because it is new. It's not your people. You don't know anyone. You're new. I think that's why being welcoming and not weird, like don't be weird, just being welcoming. Yeah. Not weird. People can see it if it's genuine. You know, it's not trying.
So true.
Yeah.
I think it's so true. And I think at the end of the day, church is people.
Yeah.
And it's people who are broken from all walks of life.
I love our people.
And if ever I greet someone new at church or I meet them for the first time, my posture is always like, you too, like, we're here together.
Yay!
Like, you know, like, hey, I've got issues too. Like, let's work this out together. Yeah. We're family, we're community, which is great. So I've talked to John on a previous episode and, a little bit how he came to know Jesus, but your story's unique as well, and how you came to know Jesus and, you know, what has that look like and what lessons have you learned along the way in just your experience of what you've walked through in life?
Sure. I mean,
because people would know you as smiling Louise, this smiling assassin, but behind that's a whole lot of depth and substance of someone who's walked through a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And the first thing actually I want to say is I think everyone's journey is unique. Yeah. Because the last thing I want to do is be like, this is special. Sure. And I get a testimony has so much value. So I just wanted to say that first because I think no matter what your journey is, it is unique. And in God's eyes, it's precious. So your salvation is precious. So for me, I grew up in church. I have to admit, I'm a Queenslander.
Oh, and tonight, turn the episode off.
Yes, I'm sorry. Need to hear this anymore. I know. But anyway, I'm actually a Sydney girl because I moved to Sydney when I was 22, 56 now. So
For those who may not understand, really quick, Queensland is the opposing state right now to the state we currently are in and Louise lives in, and there's a bit of a rivalry between New South Wales and Queensland. That's all I'll say.
Yes,
Continue.
That's it. But you still love me. But I do consider myself a Sydney girl. But anyway, my parents, we grew up in church, in a Protestant church in Queensland, and I have no doubt that grounding, that's why I think church for kids is so important, that grounding served me because I knew God. You know, I remember getting baptised at about 13. We had a pool under the stage at our church and I was in this white robe. I still remember it all. And so was heavily involved actually until I was maybe 17. And then I finished school, got a job, found boys. And I was in the hotel industry and found alcohol. Right. So from a very young age, alcohol was very much part of kind of the routine of, my family would have drinks after work and things like that. So there was very much a tradition of it in my family. And over the time, the kind of environments I was in sales. So in those days, it was the 80s. So it was very much a...
How good are the 80s, by the way?
Gosh. I mean, we used to say we gripping and grinning. That's what we would do, gripping and grinning. So it was very social and in the hotel industry. And then I moved into advertising again. The environment I was in, as well as my own, addictive nature in that area, caused me to become an alcoholic. So I was what you'd call a functioning alcoholic. And fast forward, in about 2007, John and I, we'd been living in Asia, and we were expats over there. So when we were in Asia is probably when things went really downhill. And we had help with our kids, so we had little kids. It's so interesting as I talk about this, actually, because it's not who I am now.
Sure.
So I have freedom talking about it.
Beautiful.
But I do, as I talk about it, I think about our little girls.
Sure.
I cannot help be moved because, I see God in all through it. We had help over there with you have maids when you live in Singapore. So I'm so grateful for that. And I was still functioning. I was around, but it really impacted, obviously, my relationship with John. We had been married got married in 2000, so came back to Sydney in 2007. And at that point, we were at rock bottom. So give you context, when we came back, the girls were, one was in preschool, one was in year one. And I wasn't working. John, because we'd just come back from Asia, John was working. We were hardly talking. And, it was so tough. We were hardly talking. And a few things happened at one time which caused me to finally begin sobriety. And I'd tried before, like plenty of times. I remember in Singapore, John would take me I'd go to an AA meeting. I had no intention of getting sober because I didn't want to. It was too much fun. Like I just had you can't make someone, this is something you've got to do yourself, which anybody who's had that journey will know. But I remember I was going to AA here in Sydney. I'd literally go to AA. On the way home, I'd pick up a bottle of something. I just wasn't getting there. And but our doctor, I'll never forget, had on his wall some verses. Now, I was raised in church, and it was, I know the plans I have for you, just all these verses. And then he went to this church that was on the Northern Beaches and would say to me, and I didn't know, he was saying to John as well, why don't you come to church? Why don't you come to church? There was this little church down there, an Anglican church, and I would take the kids on Friday night because I knew from being raised in church that Friday night there'd be a church somewhere with a kids club. So I'd take the kids down there and I'd drop the kids off, and I would probably be drunk. And there was this girl, Jade, I'll never forget her, Jade. She would welcome me, and Jade was like this light. She was welcoming. She was normal. And Jade would just, each week, we'd have a little chat. And then one day she said to me, do you want to have a coffee? And so I went and had coffee with her, and I'll never forget, she just said to me, what's going on? I just burst into tears. And it was a combination of things. So it was Jade. John's mum had come out from the UK. She was 80. It was very confronting having her there. She wanted to go home because we were in such a bad space. And I remember thinking, this 80-year-old woman coming out one morning saying to me, I want to go home. I can't be here. It's just the alcohol and I remember the shame. I mean, I felt so ashamed. The shame I felt then that I would have this woman want to go back. It was just a lot. So there comes a point, I think, and I say this because it's really interesting. I had a conversation with a coachee recently, or actually we did a workshop, and I said, there comes a point where you get sick and tired. It's like that came. It was like, I cannot do this anymore. I can't. So kept going to AA. We started going to this little church. And I can't remember the day. I can't remember the day. People say, do you remember the day you got saved? How, and it is for a lot of people.
Sure,
it is an amazing day for a lot of people. It was not like that for me. There was desperation there. So I was desperate I was just desperate. So there was that. So the experience was different. But what I found was we just kept going each day. And that community at that church, that is why we're here today. And that is why it is a joy to be in church. It is a joy to welcome people because, Pete, I don't know where I'd be. Like our girls, where would they be? Yeah.
Wow.
That's it.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and I love that, you can talk about it. And I know you would have blessed so many people, but you can talk about it because it's almost like you're talking about, I know it's you, but you can talk about it because it's that person. It's not you anymore. Yeah,
completely. I know you asked me before, well, what, are you okay? What do you want to talk about? I'm absolutely have so much freedom around it because it's not who I am.
Yeah.
It is not who I am. That took time though. So those first 5 years, there's a wrestle because you're dealing with the addiction as well. There's a wrestle. So I didn't really enjoy life much for that. The first 5 years, it was just hard. It was hard work because alcohol's everywhere.
Sure.
It's everywhere. It doesn't worry me at all now. I'm completely free around it. But absolutely no doubt that's the transformation, like true transformation through Christ. There's no other way. I had tried everything else.
Wow.
I was already doing leadership work, already doing the work we were doing. That wasn't enough.
Wow.
Actually, it's interesting with our clients now, we're open with our faith, but a lot of our clients aren't Christians.
Sure.
And we talk about what they want to talk about. And there are some conversations, and John and I will sometimes talk about this, because we often work in the areas you're stuck in. Where are you stuck and how do you get through that? There are some things the only answer is God.
Wow.
And you can support someone to a certain level, and on our own we can transform and, be responsible for our narrative and our mind and how we relate to things. But I have no doubt that it's through Christ. And the real transformation was how I relate to myself. So my relationship with myself. Wow. That shifted because I was in the beginning stage, I was in a lot of shame and guilt. And again, we had some moments. I remember this one moment, God bless my husband. By the way, God bless my husband because he must love me. I just go through that and stay with me. Yeah, he's a good man. But I remember one day in the kitchen, maybe I was 4 years sober, something like that, 2 or 3, 4, something like that. And I was just beating up on myself a lot. And we'd been saved by then, obviously, because that was saved and sober is kind of my thing. And John just turned to me and he was like, "Don't you dare." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Don't you dare. You're just throwing Christ's forgiveness back in his face. How dare you?" And I remember I was struck by the weight of those words, and I've never forgotten them. And because the forgiveness is, it's given to me. It was, my shame was taken away. And a verse I often go back to was Isaiah 1:18, I think it is. I don't know if that's right, but something like that. And it's your sin is like scarlet, though your sin is like scarlet, I'll make it white as snow. And that verse, I say it, I still to this day say it. Sometimes and all I say is, I'm white as snow, I'm white as snow, I'm white as snow. So if the shame comes in, really doesn't happen often, like so rare now, so rare.
Wow.
But that not accepting the forgiveness and not accepting that my shame has been taken away.
Yeah, it has.
John bringing that to my attention and being willing to bring it to my attention. It was like that jolt I needed to go, do you know what, let it go. And I tell you, one of the biggest areas we coach around is forgiveness and resentment and shame and, all that sort of thing. So,
man, that's so good because, again, like I said at the very beginning of this episode, to know that's been, and you know what, it makes me just realize everyone's got a story.
Oh, completely.
We've all got a story, and to see who you are and the person you have become and are becoming, it's just amazing because I think a lot of us would be like, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, I forget sometimes. I really
Which is
do.
pretty cool to be in that
because I'm not
sort
in
of
that
space.
space now. And then I go, I can't forget that I've got this testimony that could speak to someone.
No, it really does.
Yeah.
Being someone who has walked through addiction, and I have walked many individuals through addiction, and in some ways I like to think sometimes I've got like an addictive personality, which is I try not to go near things at all because I just know, I feel like I just get addicted to that. Right now, PlayStation right now, I feel like I spend too much time on that, and thank God it's not too serious right now. But what you know about addiction and just some of your story, because like addiction can be complicated, and there's probably families who have someone suffering from addiction, and I even the way I phrase that, I'm not even sure if I'm phrasing that right, because I know addiction it's such a, there's so much that's still being discovered about addiction. But what you do know about it, sorry, I'm going somewhere with this question. Yeah, how do you, if for people watching right now or listening, how do you help someone in addiction? And because I know addiction's a lot about what's going on in here more than what's actually happening in behavior, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you ask me that question. Maybe that's a question for John.
Yeah.
But I can, so I'll answer it from my perspective,
Sure.
from the person who deals with that or has dealt with that. You can't make someone stop something. I think that's the thing. The hardest thing is when you see someone, and it may not even just be addiction, but when you see someone behaving in a way or even thinking in a way that is unhealthy. Maybe we'll broaden it out that way because, you can influence people, absolutely, but when it comes to addiction especially, it's very hard to understand because you can't understand why someone would do something that's so detrimental to them.
And that's why I'm so careful in how I phrase it, because I go, one, I don't completely understand it, and I'm sure there's experts out there that do.
There are experts.
But you can't, I love how you said, you said you can't just make someone stop something.
No, you can't. You can't. They have, I believe anyway, in my journey, and I went to AA for a while, so a lot of, until you get the revelation yourself, it's tough because it is an addiction. That's the point. It's like it doesn't make sense. There's some. I don't know if it's a lack. And by the way, I don't think people have fully understand it yet. So there's a lot of experts, but even they're understanding more. So there's a physicality to it. There's a mental side. There's no doubt. There's a spiritual side. All the sides of it. But I think. Not making the person wrong for it. Do you know what? Being there, just being there, stay.
Yeah.
Stay in the relationship. Stay available. I think that's the thing. And if I think back, John stayed. Right. He didn't. It wasn't like, oh, I'm out of here. He stayed, and then my friends stayed. Those people initially stayed, and they just showed up. They didn't necessarily come and say to me, why are you doing this? Give their, peace. Because there was a place I could go for that. But I do remember when I first started going to AA over in Singapore, it was more because John wanted me to. Like that's how I related to it.
Wow.
So I was doing it because he said. So from that perspective, you can hear I had no intention. I was just doing it to keep him quiet.
Sure.
So there was I had no desire to shift this.
Wow.
So when you actually get to that point where you shift it, then you've got the journey of shifting the behaviour, of shifting, setting yourself up so you can get through it. But yeah, as far as supporting someone in it, I think being available, not making them wrong, being a space where they can speak. Yeah. It's really hard. I mean, it's really hard. But again,
it'd be great. No doubt I'm going to get you and John on the couch because
we have
I'd love to unpack that journey, a little bit. And obviously I'm not an expert, by the way, in this, but I would love to hear a little bit more of that story. And, because I know of individuals who are walking through that. And so one thing I've heard you say a few times in this particular podcast, but even just throughout how you have helped people, is the line, how you relate to yourself.
Yes.
I know you've helped many of my friends walk through things and walk through crisis and unpack things and whatnot. But talk to us a little bit about, like, what do you mean by that when you say how you relate to yourself, or how you relate to that habit, or how you relate? What do you mean by that?
So when I say how you relate to something, it's really what you think about it. It's your perspective. Right. It's what you're telling yourself. It's
the narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the world we live in. We live in the thoughts in our heads. Yeah. And so we relate to each other, including ourselves. We relate to situations. We relate to circumstances in a certain way. So I can relate to, the Australian government as, they're amazing, or I could relate to them as, they're losers and they don't know what they, I can shift how I relate. I can choose how I relate to things. Oh. And we have a natural way that will be there. So people will relate to you and Laura as pastors. And so with that comes authority, leadership, there'll be respect in there, all that sort of thing.
There'll also be their own story attached with what they've known of pastors, right?
Yes, and they'll have they should be like this, or they shouldn't be like this, or so we have ways we relate to each other.
Wow.
And we're responsible. I mean, the beauty of this, and the beauty of the work we do, I think, which I love it, is you can choose how you relate to something.
That's great.
Yeah, you really can. And the thing is, it's funny, you can choose how you relate to something, and someone will say to me, that's hard. And I'll say to myself sometimes when I'm stuck, this is hard. Well, it is and it isn't, because it's a choice.
Wow. But
we stay in, we'll stay in a certain narrative, or a certain how we relate to something. We'll stay in that space, generally because we're getting something out of it. There's some payoff we're getting. So for me, if we want to flip it back, when I was, getting my life together, in those early stages, and in fact, my whole journey now, a lot of my journey has been around shifting how I relate to myself, early especially, and it continues. It'll always continue. But in the area of worth, confidence, value, all that sort of thing, I can choose how I relate. So if I relate to myself as not worthy, it's how I'm going to show up. Yeah. So, yes, so you can shift that. So how I relate to myself is one of the things we'll often talk about, is I relate to myself as I am my word.
Beautiful.
And my word matters. So that's why what I say, look, sometimes I say silly things. Of course I do. I'm human. But what I say matters.
You, Louise,
me,
say silly things?
I do.
Nah.
I still remember at some of our pre-service gatherings, I'll say something because we're having fun, and I'm like, I'm like everyone. Afterwards, I go, why did I say that? But yeah, how you, the words you say matter, because that is how we talk to ourselves and how we relate to ourselves and others.
You know what I love about that approach and how you relate to things is because what I find, whether in crisis, walking through valleys, walking through shifting sand, sometimes we try to control everyone else, the situation. We try to control this and change that and try to change the outcomes. But something I think you're saying is like, whilst we might not be able to change that person or change that environment or change that scenario, you can take control of what's going on in here
Yep.
and how we relate to it. You know, I've walked through different seasons, as we all have for those watching and listening. But, you know, when you walk through a situation and it's not what you want, you can begin to take control and try to change things yourself. And I think it's the beauty of following Jesus is that the whole point of surrender is to give up control and actually look after yourself and actually go, you know what? I can't change them. I can't change their mind. I can't change that situation. But you know what I can, you know, surrender and only control is my response to this, which is what you're talking about, like how I relate to something.
Yep, how you relate to something, completely in your control. Because we can be in dire circumstances, like really struggling, you know, financially or, you know, having pressures at work. But if you can shift how you relate to it, then it shifts your experience of life. Because your experience of life is how life occurs for you.
Wow.
So if you live from a perspective of life's hard work, it's not fair. We listen to language a lot. So people, it comes out in language. So when you hear, you know, I have to do it, you know, I have no choice. There's no freedom there. No freedom there. So, you know.
Would you say it's that whole victim hero mentality?
Yeah.
And how you relate to yourself and the story you keep telling yourself.
And we say victimhood.
Right.
The reason is because we actually work with people who work with actual victims of things. So we say the victimhood. I say we, that's John and I. We always do it, we. Anyway, victimhood. So it's living from the viewpoint that you get to choose. So you get to choose. Now you can choose to be happy. Now, say that when you're unhappy, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Because John will sometimes say to me, you know, you can choose to be happy, and I feel like punching him. Yeah. I've never punched him. But because when you're in it, because we count on our feelings. Totally. Our feelings drive everything. And feelings and emotions are important.
So true.
They are important. They do speak to something. However, you then there's this window, you know, where you get to choose how I respond. Wow. And that's the piece. And so coming back to shifting how I relate to things, see, what would it be like if we could relate to everyone in church or newcomers as either a child of God or a potential child of God, or, you know, or as, you know, just pick something. You know, if we could relate to people and see them as their, you know, the purpose that God has on their life rather than what's lacking.
Beautiful.
They're going to show up like that. Now, you'll have some realities. Yeah. You know, so there's some realities that, you know, not all of us can sing and not all of us can, but it just changes how life shows up. And your experience of life then isn't such hard work. It doesn't mean, by the way, I don't have hard days.
No,
I do.
Totally.
But I think the thing is I have access to, I'm aware, and I have access to this incredible tool that God's given us, which is our head and our heart, and they're connected, right? But my brain, I can, by the way, that's why transforming your heart is really important, the first part, because you have bitterness in your heart. Yeah. It's interesting, that one, because, okay, is it in your heart or is it the thought of what's in your heart? It's how you interpret what's in your, you know.
You know, it's interesting you touch on that, because one thing you'll see throughout Scripture, particularly Proverbs, is the heart is attached to the mouth. Heart, mouth. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Sorry, out of the abundance of the heart, I point out my mouth. But of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. The heart always attached to the mouth, and I think that speaks to the narrative you're creating. What's in your heart is going to come out. Like, what's in you is going to come out. And I just wonder, you know, I was just mulling on this as you were speaking. You know, Jesus teaches us to, like, you know, he's one of the best sermons ever preached. No, the best sermon ever preached was his Sermon on the Mount. And he talked about blessed are the poor, blessed are this, blessed. But one of the things he talks about, I think it's in Matthew 5, Matthew 6, but basically you've heard it said, like, love your neighbor, but he sets a new standard. He says, pray for your enemies. And I wonder if he wants us to pray for our enemies, because I think I had one of these moments the other day, and this is probably me oversharing. You know, something made me somewhat emotional for a second about a particular individual. And my first reaction was to kind of try and control the situation. And this is someone that I was like, you know what? I feel like God's asking me to pray for this individual. And believe me, I wanted to uppercut this person. And I would never do that because we don't condone violence.
Lots of punching in this conversation.
Yeah.
I punch my
I know.
husband.
I don't know if that's a healthy thing. But one thing is it did something in my heart because I thought this person deserves nothing else, doesn't deserve prayer at all, But it was like Jesus' sermon hit me going, pray for your enemies. And I wonder if it's because it was about confessing and changing how I relate to that person. And I wonder if he teaches us to pray for your enemies, because we would rather wish the worst upon our enemies. But he goes, I wonder if he's saying like, change the way you relate to that person. Instead of wishing the worst upon them, why don't you pray the best upon them? That's changing and shifting how you relate.
So great, Pete. I love that. I think the thing is, you think about it, how does God relate to them?
Wow.
Like, he doesn't relate to them because whatever it was, there was an expectation you had and this person didn't meet that. That's all it is. We have expectations everywhere and people do or don't meet them. And then we get upset. And then there are the enemies is a big word, right? I don't think any of us have enemies, but, they annoy us. But God sees them as a child. Like everyone is a child of God. They just haven't, some of them just don't know him personally yet. But
what a challenge for us to see them as a child of God.
Do you know,
That's hard.
I remember Bob Goff coming out to Hillsong Conference once, and love Bob. Yeah. I love Bob. Yeah. I just think his perspective on humanity is such a breath of fresh air. He, and the stories he's got. Sure. So if I ever get sort of heading down there, you go to the Bible, obviously, but, remembering some of the things he shared. But coming back to the heart, to the mouth, see, how does the heart communicate to the mouth? It's through language, which is thought.
Starts in your head.
Yeah, and so that's why the renewing of the mind is so important. So it's all connected, and you kind of go in Scripture. There's little pockets everywhere of this, but I think one of the key things is to be intentional. Like, be intentionally aware of what thoughts are going on in your head and choose. Yeah.
Take every thought captive.
Yes, it tells us all. Sometimes I remember coaching. People through a season when I was working for church, and if I could say, look, here's the Bible, just do this. It's like, here's Jesus, just do that. You wouldn't need a coach, right? So, because it's all there. Yeah. But then you've got the reality of being human, which is push, pull, it's fantastic. Yeah. So, I think, again, coming back, shifting how you relate to something, understanding you actually have the ability to shift how you relate to something. It's completely in your power. Obviously, pray for help around it, because that makes a big difference, because some things can feel more challenging. Yeah. And trust God will make a way. Yeah.
So true. I love that, how we relate to things. So good. Look, we could keep going. I know. And we honestly should. But I do want to get you and John back on here and just keep talking to you about some of obviously what you guys do, but even just talking a little bit about your journey, because I think it's going to help so many people. I think it has helped so many people. But I loved having you on today's podcast episode, and I know it would have helped a whole lot of people.
Thank you.
Any departing words before we wrap it up?
Just come to church. Come to church. Keep loving on our people, and it's like, enter the house with, joy and gladness. It really is the best place to be. And get plugged in. We're big about this. Get connected, get plugged in. Don't wait for church to come to you. Beautiful. Bring it. It does make a difference. Get intentional. And, you can choose. Have fun.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be a chore.
Yeah.
So
choose how you relate to it.
Yeah.
What a key lesson. Well, thanks, Louise.
You're welcome.
We love you and John.
Love you guys too.
And looking forward to having you guys on again very soon.
Fantastic.
Amazing. So thanks so much for joining us for today's Parable Essentials podcast. It is our joy to host this. And whether you're a part of our church or just a fly on the wall listening in, it's just a joy to have you on the journey. Like I said, share it, like it, subscribe it. It all helps, but it's great to always equip people, lift their heads a little bit higher. And we're just thankful that you're a part of this. So we'll see you very soon.